Hello, this is Gosia from Cosmic Agency. How are you doing? Today I'm going to present to you the first video of the 3 videos about Jupiter and about the beings from Jupiter who are called here on Earth Caristus. And this video was presented already in Spanish in Robert's channel some time ago, because this is the information that was given by Swaruu of Erra at the end of 2019 or 2020. So that first video, Jupiter, is quite not old, because the information is still valid, but it was something given before. And then the second video will be about the beings from Jupiter called on Earth Caristus. And then the third video will be about Dor Cristil, DK. What is that? What is that title and what is it referring to? So what is this Dor Cristil and how does it refer to Caristus? Now, before you watch the video, I need to make some clarifications. First of all, this video about Jupiter was given by Swaruu of Erra, and it was given from a specific angle. For example, here it is explained that the beings who occupy Jupiter, Caristus, live in a 6th density. But now we know, especially from Yaski herself, that all that talk and categorization into densities is something that doesn't really have the reflection in reality, because the densities do not operate in such a strict way. It's not like there are some barriers and walls between them, and the density is a state of mind, and each one of us can exist in any specific densities. It's fluid. So whatever D the civilization will be existing on, it will depend on that civilization's state of consciousness and the state of expansion of their mind. So here it is explained that they are 6D and that they are bioplasmatic energetic beings. But, as it will be seen in Caristus video number 2, Aneka explains that they are people. They are flesh. They are made of biological body. They are not. She doesn't see them as bioplasmatic energetic beings. She sees them as people because they talk sometimes. They are friends. They cooperate. So here, when Swaruu of Erra said that those Caristus beings are bioplasmatic energetic beings, she might be just referring to a certain level of a Caristus civilization, because all of us exist in all these different densities. And look at Yaski. She can appear in many different forms. She can be biological and she can be not so biological. So just keep this in mind, that even though in this video Jupiter, they are explained as bioplasmatic angelical beings, they also exist in a biological form as well, and it will be more understood in the next video about Caristus. So keep this in consideration when you watch this video, and more will be understood in video number 2 about Caristus. I need to go. Thank you very much for watching and enjoy these videos. Bye bye.
Originally in Spanish. Jupiter, another long story. Notice how invasive the cabal is, how it takes and dominates everything, using Saturn as Satan, as an emblem of negativity. Why not take Jupiter, the king of the planets, impressive as he is alone? Why? Because it is not theirs. Because they think in duality always. Although they give attributes to things, attributes that things in themselves may not have. An example of this is Saturn. Nothing to do with Satan or anything, it is just another planet. But they don't touch Jupiter, because in their minds, thinking in duality, Jupiter is the antithesis of Saturn. White squares and black squares. Jupiter is the white squares. Saturn, the black ones. One charged with negativity and the other with positivity. Jupiter is the abode of a race which on Earth is known as Caristus. this is a very heavy subject that even we do not fully understand. The name Charistus is used in Templar, high-ranking Masonic circles and among other secret organizations, but mostly English, Portuguese, Italian, and German Templars. Charistus is linked to the concept of decay, Dor Christi. Charistus comes from Christic, Christ, positive energy, with Illuminati Templar Masonic point of view. In those circles, it is said that the being Jesus Christ, or DK for the Illuminati Templar Masons, comes from the race Charistus, inhabiting Jupiter and its moons. Charistus are beings of the sixth dimension of high frequency and above. Charistus, terrestrial name given to these beings who have no name, only concept of themselves. They have no names of themselves or race. Inhabit Jupiter and its moons. They look like angels, flying, and are so taken on Earth. Along with Taygeta, both races are conceptualized as angels.
And what do they come to do on Earth?
The best source of information about Charistus is the DSAHK channel. Like any other race, Earth has several thousand starseeds of that race. But yes, they come to Earth in original form too. They come because they are guides, because they see what is happening on Earth. They also want to help. How in original form if they are starseeds? Many times they have been seen as light beings captured on video, angels captured on video flying or landing somewhere. They are as starseeds and in their original form, in a bioplasmic state. The concept of angel, like Taygetans, refers more to biblical archangels, with names and all: Gabriel, Miguel, Raguel, Zadkiel, etc. They come down and talk to humans, or have talked to humans face to face. Charistus is more like you see something strange. You see a being or an angel of light, because they do seem to have wings. And then something good happened, or a disaster was averted. So the concept of angel we share with that race, but as you see, in a different way.
What other races are there on Jupiter?
As I said yesterday, there are also water vapor races, or so it seems. They don't have names as such either, just concepts. Jupiter has no surface like other planets. It just goes from a gaseous state progressively to denser and denser as you go down in the atmosphere. It gets to the point where the pressure is so much that it is denser than magma rock or steel, but all progressively. But there are strata between the gaseous state and the solid state in which strange beings exist as animals. Like fish in water, they spend their whole life from birth to death flying. Some animals are like jellyfish, with the top part being a natural balloon that gives them buoyancy in that atmosphere, and they catch other small beings with their dangling tentacles below. Some can be huge. There are parasites that live inside these beings, and also other species that live among their tentacles, eating the leftovers of what was eaten. There are other flying species like birds or half bird and half tetradactyl that also have to spend 100% of their lives flying incessantly. These species go out to hunt at higher levels of the atmosphere where it is less dense, and come down to denser strata to rest, since the effort of flying is not as great. They are carnivorous and often prey on jellyfish. They have a spur at the back, climb on top of a balloon jellyfish and dive in reverse, piercing the balloon at high speed and killing the animal. Jupiter, as I have said, has no surface and is a gradient from less dense to progressively denser. But having said that, it does have currents within the density strata, as ocean currents also have thermal and salinity barriers beneath the sea, on Earth or any marine planet. These barriers or strata are used as buoyancy beds by countless species. These currents or barriers can be clearly seen on Jupiter by looking at its colored strata.
And what is that red spot on Jupiter? And what are the hexagons that appear in the north and the south? Is it toroidal in shape?
Yes, it is toroidal. And yes, it is a big storm. Just because they tell the truth once in 1,000 doesn't mean that NASA can be trusted. It is a hurricane. Have you been in Jupiter to experience it? Passing by countless times, watching, never entering Jupiter. There have been Taygeta ships documenting everything there too. Me, just watching it as I pass by. I do not wish to disturb the inhabitants. And back to the Charistus. So, how exactly do the Illuminati know about them?
I mean, on Jupiter, it is impossible to establish bases for the Cabal because of the nature of the planet. We will talk about the moons of Jupiter later.
Going back to Charistus, Jupiter looks full of aerial life from 5D, with traces of what happens in 6D and above. In 6D, Charistus has an entire civilization there, with tall crystal buildings shaped all pointed upwards. Vast constructions. I'm just talking about the planet itself. From another point of view, Jupiter is a portal of positive beings coming from higher densities. But how do they, the Illuminati, know about them? Why do they worship them? If they are bad and the Charistus are good, generally speaking. They know because Charistus shows up on Earth from time to time, always solving something or averting calamities. For example, the Black Death was stopped after the appearance of several of these beings, as said on Earth in Jesuit Illuminati documents. So they have been given positive attributes of goodness of beings of light. They are the opposite of the concept of Vlash or Mothman, who bring misfortunes wherever they appear. Duality here is very noticeable. But the Cabal will never tell you about this, about the anti-Mothman. These constructions of theirs in 6th density you cannot see, can you? You cannot access 6D physically.
Can you see those beautiful crystal cities?
Not directly. To see them, you have to modify the frequency of the ship with the engines. Technological solution. It is easy to do, and it has been done. Yes, I have seen the vast Callisto cities from the air. They are technological too, and recognize a Taygeta ship, and no, we mean no harm. We are their sister explorers, more so as we share the concept of angels. If I tell you how to access the 6D with a ship, I would be giving you warp technology. I only ask because it has been said that the lower density does not contain the higher density, and that is why you cannot see it. But I understand this. Okay, thank you. Sure, Gosha, but you go up in density with your ship technologically. That is part of the warp. In itself, it is that too. As I said before, it is portal for beings and energy of higher densities.
Was Jupiter once a star?
Jupiter was never a star. Probably never will be. Although it has more attributes of a star than a planet. It is something else though, another category. Jupiter is a very, very high frequency planet. It radiates much more energy than it receives from the sun. Its moons receive that energy in the form of radiation that is translated by them into heat. Jupiter emits that energy like a sun. It reaches them. Suns do not emit heat. That is false. Stars are not thermonuclear bombs, as they say. They are energy portals. It is energy in various forms, including measurable radiation from 3D, but far from being just that. That is translated by the planet into heat. Let's go to the Mojave Desert for the moment. It is almost summer. Temperatures are soaring in the high 40s Celsius and above. But on any given day at midday, with the surface at 42 degrees, the higher you climb in altitude, say in an airplane, the cooler and cooler the outside temperature will become. Even in full sun at 10,000 feet altitude, 3 kilometers, the temperature is already well below zero, below freezing. Solar flares are energetic pulses. The heat comes from the translation of energy received by the sun, not from the sun. The sun cannot radiate heat to the earth because, from a 3D point of view, space is a vacuum, and the laws of thermodynamics do not allow for heat transfer. No matter how hot a sun is, no heat energy will ever reach the earth. Okay, the sun burns higher up, like over the Alps. You go skiing and the sun burns your skin. But it burns you not because of heat, because you are freezing. It burns you because of radiation.
That is, the famous solar flare would never reach the Earth.
And what does it radiate? A long list of energy kinds. From what is accepted in 3D as ultraviolet, to white light and infrared, radio waves, to X-rays, and then to high-energy gamma rays. It also transmits other frequencies and energy that humans are unaware of. Energies of other densities, because the sun is in all densities, logically. Those energies from the tachyonic muonic, and many others that are only known on Earth as cosmic rays or solar wind. It emits energies of frequencies that come from other places, from high densities translated to lower ones. The Sun as a repeater of energies coming from the center of the galaxy, which activates the DNA. It can reach because it radiates very strong electromagnetic energy. Yes, it can affect telecommunications, etc. But as the flare that cooks life on the planet, leaving everyone roasted, that is fear, fear, and fear. Just garbage. That will never happen. But let's see, how do they activate the DNA? That is another topic. But yes, it's not that they activate it as in they weren't before. They are just transmitted frequencies, and by the principle of the dominant frequency, everything that is under the influence of a higher one will change frequency to match the higher one. The consequence of that is that everything that was on a lower frequency, and therefore on a lower existential plane, will irremediably have to raise its frequency as well. Principle of dominant frequencies. Is it good to expose yourself to the sun? Sure, there is nothing wrong with the sun. You just have to accept that you have certain body limits or tolerances when it comes to radiation exposure. Another day.
Okay, we can move on to Jupiter's satellites.
These are the main moons of Jupiter. They get 99% of their heat from Jupiter or their own geothermal means. The Sun takes a back seat to them. They are all in the life-forming stage. This means that they are places that the positive races watch and respect with utmost care because of the Prime Directive. If places or planets like Mercury or Pluto, and Sun 10, Sun 12, and Sun 13 as well, are planets going downward in decay back to the potential energy, these 4 moons of Jupiter are going upward. They are in formation with life beginning in them, and with that life, also the moon's consciousness. All from the holographic point of view. The forming consciousnesses of the planet function as neurons of a larger whole, and so on upwards. The inhabitants, plants, and animals add up the energetic field of consciousness soup to form a whole, the moon or the planet. Also, human beings are the sum of cells and microorganisms living inside them. The cells of the body are the population. The body is a community, not a unit. So it is the same way with the most basic things to the most complex. It is composed of smaller pieces of consciousness, all interconnected in an energetic field of consciousness. This field is misunderstood, and it is something quite tangible. It is gravity. Gravity is the flow from a point of observation of a consciousness to the observed point, or of concentration.
So, there is no advanced life on those moons. The consciousnesses of the moons as living beings are forming? Are there settlements of other races?
Yes, those moons are forming. They are babies. They must be taken care of. They must be given what they need for their development. Mostly, respect and patience. There are no settlements, and the negative races are driven away by the guardians of the area, the Charistus. This the Cabal knows and has filtered into Stanley Kubrick's 1968 film 2001: A Space Odyssey, and even more clearly in 2010 Space Odyssey, Part 2 with Roy Schneider. Look at the final message. All these worlds are yours to explore except Europa. Don't try to land there.
Why Europa?
For the reason I am telling you. Because it is in formation. It has a life beginning to develop. Nobody has the right to interfere. Just that in those movies, something has failed them. It is not only Europa. Ganymede and Callisto too. However, Europa is special or stands out among them. It has an ocean inside, under the ice. It is the one in the most advanced development of life state of the four. It contains a Syrian-based civilization of Triton-type beings in primitive pre-industrial stage. It comes from the same name from which Europe was named. It is not Europa in honor of the continent. Europa was the daughter of Tyre, who was one of Zeus' mistresses in Greek mythology.
Okay, it is good to know all of this information because many contactees claim to have visited these moons and seen cities and civilizations.
But who has named the satellite Europa? It would be necessary to investigate who. For us, it is not called that, Europa. It is Sun 1352.
Why Sun if it is a moon?
Sun 13, source solar system. Sun 13.5, source solar system plus planet number 5, Jupiter. Sun 13.5.2, second moon. Although it is not according to the distance to Jupiter, it doesn't correspond, but that's what it is called.
But another question, Swaruu. Are they moons without any settlements of any intelligent race? It's just that some alleged contactees claim to be taken to those moons to meet civilizations living on them.
Sorry to be a party pooper. Answer no. There is no one there with civilization. Only some Syrian-based Tritons, but in a primitive state. These moons are new and in formation. In a few thousand years, they will have their civilizations, but not yet. There is no one there, not even bases. Only the Charistus who look after them positively, as well as grey gardeners, for that is their job. Perhaps they confused it with the advanced Charistus civilization on Jupiter. As you have been told, it has no surface. There could be no civilization on Jupiter, and they mistakenly pass it on to their moons. Jupiter does have large buildings and spectacular cities, but not in 5D. They are above 5D, lower 6D specifically. I know what frequency or density because that is what the spacecraft computer tells me when matching the frequency as a necessary procedure to even see these cities. A 3D or 5D zone would only see a gaseous ball full of 5D animals, as described yesterday.
I just have one question to this. Is the Earth also now in 6D? I mean, you see the cities of Jupiter 6D in the same timeline, right?
All places, including Earth, have their points or their lines or their corresponding aspects in all densities. About timelines, yes, they are always different as they change with densities as expected. It is difficult to define where one ends and the other begins, because a timeline is basically one that represents a consciousness. But that consciousness is present in multiple densities as well. And aspects of the same consciousness may or may not be perceiving those other densities, although it affects it directly. To this problem is added another one, that we would have to define when a consciousness begins as a unit, because everything is composed of smaller consciousnesses that form a greater one, and that, in the case of a human being, for example, would be each cell of the body, since the human body is a population, not a unit. These individual cellular consciousnesses form the greater, the anthropomorphic person, which in turn forms a community, which forms a planet, which forms, and so on and so forth. As you can see, the variables to consider are many.